we all float down here in Podo.
Yeah.
So, this is our review of It 2017. Stephen King's It, the new adaptation directed by Andy Muschietti.
Muschietti.
Yeah.
Or go by Andreas.
Sorry if I don't pronounce his name correctly.
Or you can call him Andreas Muschietti or Andy Muschietti.
Yeah. This is the second adaptation of the popular book by Stephen King from 1985. And this was previously adapted into a miniseries in 1990. Now, this film deals with the story of the kids of in a small town of Derry, Maine. The kids of Derry are being killed off by a mysterious force called Pennywise the Clown, who lures the children in and feeds on their fear.
By shape-shifting.
Yes. Now, a little backstory, because we won't go into too much detail. This is actually as we mentioned earlier, this is the second adaptation of the book of It by Stephen King, which I finally read, so now I'm able to have read the book and actually seen the new film.
Which I have not read, but I come from a diehard Stephen King family, and I practically feel like I've read the book because, goddamn, my grandma used to fucking sit there and tell me scene for scene of every page, and I feel like she narrated it to me, so I know a lot of stuff in the book, even though I haven't read it, so.
Well, there you go. And this one, it also, well, and also if you've been following our Stephen King discussion that we've been posting on our channel, we also briefly mentioned it on the first video, and we're pretty big diehard Stephen King fans. Like we've never read any of his books. He's never read any of them, but I've finally read it, and we've seen a lot of his adaptations that have been taking place.
I grew up on a lot of his movies.
Yeah, and plus a lot of them have been pretty good over the last 30-something years. And there's been some hit and miss ones here and there, but it's for the most part, I've always been anticipating a lot of Stephen King films coming out.
Yeah.
And with this one, what got me, and we'll have a separate video going over discussions of the book and the miniseries, but
and then a spoiler
and a spoiler. But this is our non-spoiler review of the 2017 version. But I will say that I like the original miniseries that was based off of the book, but we'll have the discussion of that on the next video, or on the next following videos that come up. Yeah. But anyway, this story I was actually really getting forward to because this movie actually was in production for a while, since 2009.
2009. It started out with this. God, I can't pronounce these last names, guys. It actually started out with some dude. It says down in here. David Knodgich, whatever. He actually started out. He was approached to do the adaptation in 2009, and he didn't last very long because he didn't agree with Warner Brothers. Apparently, according to many sites, saying that Warner Brothers actually intended this movie to be again instead of splitting it up, they wanted to do it all in one movie. And he didn't like that idea, and they kind of wanted it watered down, so he dropped out, handed it over, and that's when it went to Cary Fukunaga, the guy who created the first season of True Detective from 2014. Yeah. And after some disputes happened, because originally when he was signed on as director, he actually wanted to take a lot of things from the book, but from what we've heard recently was that he changed a lot of things that were from the book. He changed a lot of the names and things that were deviated differently than what the fans who read the book had seen about. Not to mention he wanted Will Poulter to be to look demonic. Demonic the whole entire time.
Yeah.
And instead of being like that one he could lure kids.
It would have been interesting, but I think that, it would have been a lot different than what you're kind of thinking of what the book would have been. Yeah. So then after pretty much there was a dispute happening with Cary and Warner Brothers, he basically dropped out our creative differences, and then it was handed to Andy. And now Andy was the one that was signed on, and basically they still credit Cary in this one as the writer, because they do take some of his ideas from his script.
Yeah, I think they take out a lot of it, because Andy said he had a lot of good things going. He tweaked a lot.
He still used some little things from Cary's script that were used from his vision, and they use it in this movie. And so with this one,
Copyright problem. I don't want to fucking show you guys.
Yeah. Well, with this one, it got me really curious as well because when that first trailer came out, I was already I was like really pumped because that trailer broke a lot of records.
It did. I remember movies like this. We were kind of getting a little worried for a while there because I think it went up till May. We didn't see anything at all.
Yeah.
And we were like, "Oh fuck, man!" You know, you start getting worried. May, September. What the fuck's going on here? We ain't seeing the trailers. Usually that's considered a bad sign, and sometimes I like it like that because it doesn't, you know, spoil a lot. But we were kind of worried, like, is it having problems behind closed doors?
Yeah, I know.
And then I happened to see on Facebook they did that we all float down here, little quick 2-second thing. I'm like, fucking A, yes! And this is my most anticipated film of this year.
Oh, it's mine too, definitely.
You know, Star Wars and some other films I've looked forward to, but this is my number one I wanted to see this year, and I've been counting down the fucking days, and I swear it's made it feel like I've been waiting 2 years by the countdown.
Yeah, and before we, get into the story, the experience that we had was pretty hectic because when we first, this is opening night that we're watching this, when we're recording this right now. The line that we actually went up to, because we saw this at the drive-in with Annabelle, but we saw this first before Annabelle Creation, which was the first time he saw it.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, when we got to before we even got to the drive-in, there were cars lining up almost a mile down the road.
We were about a good 2 miles, and it took like an hour to get inside. And the funny thing is about 40 minutes into the movie, there were still people pouring in.
Yeah, there was like 30 cars showing up all of a sudden.
Still more and more. This is probably the most busiest I've ever seen of any film. I'm going to tell you right now. And it just gives you high hopes. I think this is going to be the record-breaking horror film of all time.
Yeah.
But anyways, now we've seen the trailers, and that when that first major trailer hit up, I was fucking hyped.
I was too.
Oh my god, that got me fucking hyped. Dude.
And that's what also got me into reading the book, and I finally read all of it. And now with this film, basically I can honestly say that my expectations were truly succeeded. I was already anticipated at first, going into it already, but this even made it even better than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that for me, but my anticipations were even. Like, I was happy. I didn't get disappointed. I was happy with what I saw.
Yeah.
I didn't get blown away and got more, but I was happy and content what I got. I was like, yes, that's what I wanted.
So basically, to get into more of the story as well, we also have the characters in the film that were introduced, which are the Losers Club. You have Bill, who's the stuttering type, and he has a little brother named George, which, as we know and love, he's the first victim from Pennywise that gets killed in the sewers. And we also get introduced to the other Losers Club that come from different backgrounds. You have Mike. He's the African-American kid who works in that, what was it, he
was doing farm work for his grandpa. They have it in this one where he works for his grandpa because his parents were killed.
Yeah. And then you also have Ben, who's the new kid who comes from another state, and he comes to Derry, and he has the crush on Beverly, who's also the kind of outcast as well because she doesn't really fit in with like some of the other girls. And she, is having some hard stuff going through with her dad. And then you also have Richie, who's the funny man who does all the funny voices.
Yep.
And you got Eddie, the one who's basically the asthma type, and he's, germophobic.
Yeah. And
then you have Stan, who is basically the only thing that he really retains is that he's with the group and he has kind of doubts at times, but he also has he's Jewish, so he does like a lot of rituals, or he does like a lot of ceremonies.
Then you get the Henry Bowers gang on this one, and then we finally get a Patrick. We finally get a Patrick
Hochstetter,
which we didn't get in the miniseries.
Yeah, and this time we get a fourth. Because the other three were Henry Bowers, and then Belch, and then Victor Cripp.
Yeah, and then we finally get our Bill Skarsgård playing Pennywise.
Yeah, which
wow! We'll get into the pros and cons here in a minute, but I was blown away by this performance.
At first, a lot of people I know were skeptical going in because I was actually wondering, because when I first saw the pictures, I was like, I don't know. That kind of look for him. This might have to grow on me.
Well, as the trailers and all of them, they kept going on, and they did like where we heard his voice for the first time. You know, that Scooby-Doo-ish thing, and then you had the first look of the outfit. There was people really starting to worry for a little bit, and it's natural.
And I'm not going to make comparisons. Well, okay, we'll wait until we get to there. But yeah, I had that speculation too.
Yeah.
And basically, to kind of break it short, this story deals with the main kids having to go through every day to live their life as a kid, but also having to try to outweigh their fears on Pennywise, who's trying to murder them and all the other kids in Derry.
It's basically a coming-of-age story.
Yeah, it's a coming-of-age story, but also a horror story as well, of facing their fears.
Yep.
And the film also deals with, like, the themes of friendship as well.
Yes.
How they come together as one.
Yes, and they're fighting not only just Pennywise, they're fighting this ruthless-ass gang that will not leave them alone. And it's not your typical, hey, you're fat, push you around. This is some serious shit here where the fuckers are cutting their names in them and they're doing more and more meaner shit to them. Like, eventually they're going to kill these kids.
Yeah, so. And then, well, not just that, they also feel like the adults as well are not always trustworthy.
Yeah,
I got to tell you right now, like, for my pros starting out, I highly enjoyed the performances in this.
Oh, yeah.
I think all the kids did an outstanding job.
Oh, yeah, there was not a bad performance. The performances from A to Z, you name them, they nailed their part. Even the fucking cameos were nailing their parts.
Yeah. And
Bill Skarsgård, wow, man.
He's definitely the one, yeah.
There ain't a lot of people out there. I'm not trying to compare, but when we had Jackie O'Haley take over for Freddy, and then we've had somebody take over for Doug Bradley on Hellraiser. I don't know that dude, and I don't want to know the dude. But then, basically, what I'm trying to get to is
you're always going to have that iconic actor to play that iconic character.
So you got a lot of you got a lot of shoes to fill. Tim Curry we can't deny that he changed the way to look at clowns. He changed pop culture of clowns forever, and we're kind of worried what's going to go on. And from what I've seen, I'm going to tell you right now, this is out of every iconic that got replaced by somebody different. This is probably the one that actually beat the iconic guy slightly. Yeah,
I will say, because I'm not trying to make comparisons, I'm saying that Bill Skarsgård this to me is the Heath Ledger in that of performances. Much kind of like how Tim Curry was like the Jack Nicholson of Pennywise. Well, Tim Curry was playing like of Pennywise, kind of like Jack Nicholson played the original Joker. Yeah. This to me is like the Heath Ledger equivalent of playing of Pennywise.
Great.
In that he puts his own persona into it, where he is more serious this time, but he still has the genuine kind of like prowess of a clown. Yeah. Because not only does he, is he frightening, but he also has the shape-shifting abilities that are more retained, that are also from the book as well.
Which, by the way, do some very terrifying shit on this one.
Yeah, we won't go into detail with them, but basically, because that's a separate video. Yeah. But man, when Pennywise starts doing some things in here, you really feel the atmosphere surrounding the film.
And I will tell you right now, Andy Machete, I praise you on quite a few things on my pros. Cinematography is fucking amazing. The score that you had, the guy you hired to do the score, fucking amazing score definitely. On this one.
Especially that theme they play at the beginning.
And I'll tell you right now, I am so happy that you didn't hold back and you were showing some brutal ass shit in this film.
This film does have some gore. Now it doesn't have quite like the extent that possibly the original director was probably going to go for, but they still retain a lot of it based on what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
They use it enough to the extent to where you still feel the way that it's handled and how it's supposed to really be disturbing, but also how it's supposed to represent how the fear spreads around the town and how the kids react to it.
Yeah.
So I did really enjoy that aspect of it as well.
Yes.
And the atmosphere as well. Every scene that's built up, when it ends up having to see Pennywise, they use it in very cool, subtle moments where he would not just, I mean, yeah, you're going to see him occasionally pop out here and there, but
Yeah.
there are little moments where he'll just be like in the background or something, and that's very terrifying.
Yeah, where he's letting you know he's watching you.
Yeah.
He's there. He sees
That's
you.
what I'm saying. Those scenes
Yeah.
right there are also like stand out for me, the best parts, because it shows how much the fear he's spreading just on himself alone.
Yeah,
but also the other creatures too do that as well.
Yeah.
That he takes the form of. And another great thing I like as well is that the film also retains a lot of the themes that are really well as a story perspective on how these friends have to come together, because every character, they go through a great arc. You actually get to know each and every one of these people, one of these kids. You know, they're all going through their own persona.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one, at least on a story perspective, I think probably could have maybe worked a little more was probably Stan.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, they all had their own, unique personality.
Yeah.
Like they all did. It's just Stan, I think, felt like he probably could have had a better arc, so to speak.
Yeah, he was pretty. That's going to be like one of our little cons. Stan, I feel like I feel like the miniseries did Stan a little bit more justice in this one, because this one they really don't do anything with it. Hardly anything. I mean, he's barely done. I mean, they even get rid of the bird watching thing in this one, so he really has no what is he even in the movie for other than to just stand there?
That's one of the things I do praise is that he does have his doubts. Because
they gave him the doubt
they
part.
do the arc with him within how, again, not going to go into detail, but there is something that he sees that causes him to realize the shit's getting real.
Yeah.
So I do like that they're going with that approach.
Yeah. But as far as cons, I will say start off with my cons. Some of the CGI was a little bit noticeable in this film. I felt like they could have. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on the CGI, and a lot of CGI renders very well in this film. I just felt like they also got a little carried away, and then they wanted to cut down on a lot of practicals.
Yeah, because the film, even though I think it was only shot like $30 million budget. I mean,
it is a low. That's why Carrie left. I read also is because the budget he didn't have much money to work with,
because he wanted a lot more to put on it.
Yeah.
But also it also has to do with the fact that some of the effects they use look a little cartoonish for me in parts.
Yeah.
Now, some of them are rendered pretty good, which we'll put in our spoiler review, that are used good. But yeah, like you were saying, they are, a couple of them are just like, yeah, that looks like something that doesn't hold up really too good. But another thing too, I noticed too with some of my cons was, going back to the little Stan thing. Even though I liked the character, I did feel like
underused.
His like whole fearness itself is kind of under, his whole like personality wise, he doesn't like he definitely kind of he feels like he does. His name is Stan, so he basically stands out kind of from the group.
Yeah, it's just like I said in the original, you can kind of feel in the miniseries where he kind of feels a part of the group. In a way,
even though he still has his doubts on a lot of things.
Yeah, but he's still part of the group.
Yeah,
and there are parts in the movie and the miniseries where he's actually involved in some things.
Yeah. Versus
this one, it's like I think they had to cut a lot out, and I was like, man, that's my little issue with that.
So. Another issue I had too was, even though I did enjoy the Bowers gang, I did feel like overall, a couple of the characters I thought were very underused that they could have done a lot more with. Yeah. Now, and I'm talking about, I'm not just saying comparing it to the book, but I'm also saying on a story perspective, it does feel like we were missing something from the group themselves. Yeah. Especially with something that happens toward the end.
Yeah, you got to think, if you not comparing it to the book, you got to think that because it's trying to do a better adaptation to the book, Bowers are a big thing. We'll go into that in this other video.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird. It was kind of disappointment that we get them again and they're kind of just regularly used. They're not really strongly pushed.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're you can still feel their presence because of the way that they're still going after.
It gets
the kids.
better later on. It kind of starts out kind of like
they're just here.
Bowers going to even be in the movie?
Yeah, they're like they're split out here and there because you can still feel their presence going after the Losers Club.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't really,
it's fraudulent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I noticed that too. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was one of my minor cons that I had with the film. But overall, though, I still highly enjoy it because not only did I love the film on its own, but also as an adaptation, I think, and I've read the book too, I think this is very, very close. Like, I think it is to a T with it.
Yeah, it did good. And you're not going to get everything because we don't want to see verbatim. And two, it would be like a 4-hour movie just to get everything fucking on first half. So I can understand them having to cut what they can. And as its own merit of its own story where it doesn't have to say, well, we're under the book or we are the miniseries. They did their own part of their version, and I think it worked very well what they did.
Yeah, I did too. And so with that being said, since this is a non-spoiler, I'm going to go and give my final thoughts. This is for me, since it's a good adaptation and as a good movie on its own, I'm going to give the film a 9 out of 10.
I'm going to agree with him. I'm going 9 out of 10 with it. So.
Fair enough. Yep. Well, for those of you who have also seen it, let us know in the comments of what you thought about it. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to our channel. And you can check out some of our other reviews if you like as well. And also check out our Stephen King discussion that we have here as well. And we'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.
Later.